lonely, helpless Earth. The 21st century. The world of the future. And lurking beyond the cold, strange immensity of conquered space, growing and spreading beyond the warped imagination of the greatest human intellect, exploding in unspeakable horror, the Greem Slime.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Hit that fanfare early, Jim. We are celebrating 300 episodes.
300.
We don't look a day over 250.
No, and we usually just let these anniversaries go by us because we're unaware when we're recording. Like, oh, this is 250.
It's like, oh yeah, by the way,
yeah,
that was our 100th.
Yeah,
we've hit. I think our 100. We
did something for that one. Yeah,
we did lean into it a little bit, but yeah, 300. We are a prestigious company because Lassie, Bonanza, Law and Order, and My Three Sons all have 300 plus episodes. So
Simpsons.
Well, yeah, I mean, Simpsons, you want to go down that road, then we're talking every Law and Order SUV. I'm pretty sure Family Guy's got 800 plus episodes.
Mm-hmm. But we're the only ones of that prestigious list that can continue without viewers or listeners in this case.
That is true. That is true. Or writers.
Yeah.
We just keep going. We're like the little Energizer Bunny here, man. So I didn't know, 100 and your 100th anniversary. I think the giving gift is obsidian. I didn't know what 300 was, so I didn't get you anything. I apologize.
Oh, maybe it's obsidian times 3. Who knows?
3 obsidian.
Happy anniversary to Christina, who is not here with us this week, but hopefully, if you reside in Germany, you caught her on her recent book tour.
Yes, I think she was just at New York Comic Con as well.
And New York Comic Con. Yeah.
Oh, this girl's got some frequent flyer miles. Probably some serious jet lag. Today is Sunday. It's the last day of NYCC. And I was hoping that we would be getting some news coming out of there. So we had something to talk about. Apparently, with the SAG-AFTRA strike, actors are forbidden to actually discuss their roles or any movie related. So anybody who showed up and sat in the theater to see Ewan McGregor were regaled with his tales of making a cup of tea.
But he was actually there. He was not prohibited from being there.
No, these guys are allowed to go, and they're doing signings. They just are not talking about, like, he can't get on stage and talk about how cool it was to reprise his role as Obi-Wan. Or, any of his other acting gigs. They had to kind of stick to personal anecdotes. I guess Chris Evans was speaking about his new wife. But the big news that did come out in New York Comic Con, and I found this hysterical, is somebody took a dump on the showroom floor. That was that was the leading news.
Was it like an organized protest?
I don't know. There was some speculation that it may have been a service dog. Because I can't imagine if somebody, listen, we all know what it's like. You're waiting in line for hours for these damn panels, or you're in line for Frank Miller's autograph so you can pay $300 for it. Sometimes you got to go. But
well, there's plenty of facilities there. I don't
I
remember there
also
being
think
an
that
issue.
if this, well, you come out of line, maybe the jerk behind you is like, you're cutting. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. This,
that'll clear your line really quick. Let me tell you.
Well, I also
Or
think that
maybe not. Maybe not. They're like, I'm not moving.
maybe, yeah, it's like, yeah.
Do whatever you want. I'm not moving.
Right. I feel that if somebody dropped trowel, there'd be 100 pictures all over social media. So, especially if you were in a costume. Listen, if you're dressed as Superman, your underwear is on the outside already. So I don't. That's tough.
Wow.
So yeah, that was the big news item that came out of New York Comic Con. I actually had to dig into it because I thought that it was just a goof headline. No, someone really took a dump on the floor. Clean up on aisle 7. Clean up on aisle 7. I also found some disturbing news. Best Buy has announced that as of 2024, they will no longer be selling physical media.
Of any kind.
Of any kind, not only in store, but online. So no more DVDs, no more Blu-rays.
Well, this probably is the beginning of the end, I would think, for physical media. Although I'd like to think otherwise, because I still do.
Well, we've been down this road before with VHS and the DVD into Blu-ray, and then vinyl went away, and then it came back in a big way. So at what point do people get sick? I just had a conversation with my daughter the other day, and they're like, I was thinking of actually like pulling some of my stuff, my music that I listen to, offline and burning it onto a disc. I'm like, yeah, that's what we used to do. We actually, my tower, my computer still can burn a CD.
I like to buy CDs because I like to have something on the shelf, like something, if nothing more, I can look at it, and say, well, I mean, I own that.
But usually the streaming stuff, it's so bare boned. It's like, all right, I got the movie, and maybe there's like a little, 5-minute behind the scenes, I used to love, I would never pick up a movie unless it had a director's commentary.
Exactly. Now you get all that bonus stuff, and there's just something kind of
intimate, and
it's almost like ceremonious when you open the package, you take it out, put it in the DVD, if you have a 5.1, which I do, put that on, and you just let it envelop you. And like you said, there's usually a bare bones, and it's usually just, bonus content when all these streaming services are fighting for your dollars. So watch it on my thing. We've got a little bit of bonus content on ours if you chunk down your $3.
But 9 out of 10 times, if I'm streaming a movie, I'm not going back and digging for any of the extra features.
I will give streaming movies their due in the fact that the quality is just as good as you'd get on a Blu-ray. Or
I agree, even better in some cases. I'll point it out to our backup feature, Popeye.
I can't say the same about streaming music, because that often sounds very tinny to me, and CD sound always wins.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not a aficionado in the music. I tend to put music on just as background noise. So I don't sit like you do and actually appreciate it. So what? We got Walmart, Amazon, and Target, maybe. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're still going to have the Criterion. They're going to, I would assume they would still be putting out physical media, the high end stuff.
And your Shout Factories and
Shout
places
Factories,
like that.
One. Yeah.
And these are places niche. you can get like Criterion, as you said, and Shout Factory. You can get the stuff right directly from them.
Right.
So they're in no danger of in the foreseeable future. But even though I collect physical media, I've gotten a lot more choosy over the years.
Sure.
A movie's got to be really good for me to want to buy it, or it's got to be like a legacy movie that I already love that's coming out in some new special edition that I'll pick up.
Yeah, you're not walking into Walmart and going through the $5 bin.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not going to be telling myself, hey, I kind of liked the creator, I think I'm going to buy that. No, that's not going to happen.
Looking at you, Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting that we're all in on the streaming stuff now. But you're right. It's become a very niche market. Long gone are the media play days where you can walk in and Oh, you got the books, you got the comics, you got the. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah. And
The good old
I'd get
days.
excited walking into a place like a
Oh,
media
hell
play.
yeah.
And I'd be like, for the next 2 hours, that's where I'd be.
Absolutely. That was when we were in Maine, and I stumbled across that one. I can't remember what it was called now, Moose something. And it was basically a media play. You named it. And I mean, they had it.
Yeah, they also have and they don't have any in New York, unfortunately. It's just kind of scattered throughout the country. I think there are a few in Illinois. They're called Second and Charles, which again is pretty much a media play.
Huh.
And it's probably in 10 to 15 states. Closest one to us is in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Which is weird. All right. So now I'm just thinking, and I didn't write this in my notes, but I just saw something yesterday where Netflix is reporting they're going to start building brick and mortar stores. So what are they going to be selling? If they stopped with the mail-in CDs, DVDs, right? They stopped that.
Yeah. So
and everything's served. So now all of a sudden you're talking about building brick and mortar stores. And then here's Best Buy saying we're going to do away with physical media. So is Netflix
unless they're going in, unless they're trying to compete with Amazon by selling everything? I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense.
No, are they just becoming like a Blockbuster? I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. I just thought about that on the back end, which kind of like completely contradicts this news article. But
then again, eventually anything old is new again.
Yeah. Right.
So, we already had over the past several years, we've had the vinyl resurgence, right? And when that died in the early 90s, late 80s, everybody thought that, you never see that again. I don't need these records anymore.
We're going to CDs. Yeah.
Yeah. And then same thing happened with VHS tapes going to DVD. And I remember mine are probably in a pile in a landfill somewhere because I threw them all out.
Yeah.
Like there's no way these would be worth anything.
Yeah. Well, if you kept them, they would be worthless.
But I just read something that this past week where Pete Davidson, the comedian, is doing a side hustle. So he's buying VHS tapes and reselling them. And according to him, he just sold a sealed Rocky VHS tape for $20,000 online. Was it graded? I don't know.
It would have to be. It's a big thing to actually get them sealed and graded. But it's also probably someone's paying for the fact that it came from Pete Davidson. If you put that up on eBay right now and you're like, hey, I'm Jim Baker and I'm selling my Rocky. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'll give you $12 for it. But yeah, apparently there is a market for that stuff. I'll stick with my graded comic books.
So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is, don't throw out
everything old
your DVDs just yet, because maybe in 40 years people will be clamoring for them.
Well, I have two giant boxes of VHS tapes from my father-in-law, and they are worthless. I can't unload them for $1 online.
Are they pre-recorded or like the kind you bought in the store? Or
no, they're all store bought. Some of them are still sealed, but they're not like sought after movies.
Oh.
Like it's not, Fox's first iteration of Star Wars sealed. Those apparently go for some big bucks. So anyways, yes, don't throw away your physical media yet. Netflix, I don't know what you're planning, but I guess we'll keep an eye on that. So yeah, no other real big news coming out of New York Comic Con. So there you go. That is all the news I have for our 300th episode. We didn't even talk about what we're doing here, which until last week, we weren't even really sure what we were going to pull off. And this may or may not work, but I don't care. I think the two of us were tickled to just pick something stupid and off we went.
Yeah, the last time we did a knowingly, only crappy movies episode was when the three of us came to the table with a bad movie. And I did
bad movies we love to
movies we love to hate or whatever. Bad movies we love. I did Laser Blast.
Yes. What did I do? Santa Claus versus Conquers the Martians.
And then Christina did Ice Pirates.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We kind of labeled this craptacular, which, believe it or not, actually is in the dictionary. It is a word.
It is really
spectacularly awful, so poor in quality as to become a spectacle. And then I think you got like schlock or cheese or cultsy. Yeah. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I think Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of changed the way we watch some of these movies. Because I think it's we've all done it, sit there and poke, with a bunch of friends and poke fun at these movies. And then they turned it into an art form. I'm still flabbergasted at your choice, because how did you sit on this for 300 episodes?
How did I sit on the green slime? Well, it was really a messy proposition, and I've had to change pants several times. But
that's how it spreads. By the way,
well, okay, so we've both picked a craptacular movie to bring to the table here.
Yes, I had a hard choice.
Yeah, you had several that you wanted to choose from, but correct. I think there was only one that came to the fore for me.
Was this Green Slime?
Well, because I just keep seeing it popping up on.
I have never heard of it.
Again, and I've said this a million times, but Green Slime was a 4:30 movie that they used to show on ABC TV here in New York. And the 4:30 movie ran weekdays, and they'd have theme weeks. So they'd have Godzilla weeks, which I would always wait for, but they'd also have sci-fi weeks of, random, 5 random sci-fi movies that would play from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. before the 6 o'clock news came on. And this show ran from like the late 60s to 1981. And Green Slime was often featured on Sci-Fi Week.
Wow.
Now, these movies were, of course, because of the 90-minute time slot with commercials, they were heavily edited. So when you watched a movie, I know
which part they cut.
When you watched a movie on the 4:30 movie,
that was
you got like the leanest version that you possibly could,
which is probably not a bad thing with this. Because
right, yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to throw my hands up right now. Like I said, I have never witnessed this. I don't know anything about it. And when that theme song kicks in, I am like, what are you doing to me right now? This is amazing. I was tickled pink. This is right in my wheelhouse.
I know. And I was immediately online saying, is there a soundtrack to this movie? Because
yeah.
I remember the theme song, but when I heard it, I haven't seen this movie in its entirety probably since it aired on the 4:30 movie.
Okay.
But it's always like just sat in the back of my brain.
Right.
And the reason it came up for this show is because whenever I watch and I watch crappy movies all the time on Amazon, and I always look, if you go into a movie and you watch it and then the home screen comes back up, it says, sure. Page down for movies that other people have watched that have liked this, that you just watched.
Yeah.
And invariably Green Slime always shows up. I'm like, oh, we've got to do that. We've got to do that. And I'm not going to watch it until we do it.
Okay. Wow.
So I have sat on this for quite some time.
300 episodes.
But it's, you want to pick something that's thematically appropriate for the other movie, and it never has been until now.
I don't really know what you could pair this with.
Yeah,
unless we did a Sigmund and the Sea Monsters.
Exactly.
So,
dive. but because the 4:30 movie was so lean and mean and cut out any fat, generally when I watch a movie now that I remember watching on TV as a kid, I'm like, this is so much more boring than I remember it being. Yeah. That's because all these parts were cut out of the version that I watched.
The entire love triangle has been excised.
And because it's an interest. Well, we'll get into it on the back end of this discussion, because I don't want to get into it now because it's about plot points. But a version came out in Japan and a version came out in the US that were completely different because it was a US-Japanese co-production.
Yeah.
Much like King Kong Escapes, which we talked about last Thanksgiving, which unbelievably was like a year ago now. So
we are quickly coming right up to our Godzilla marathon again. Yeah, this has got, the special effects are very Thunderbirds Go vibe to it.
Oh, it's even for, Japanese rubber suit kind of special effects. These are like on bottom of the barrel.
I don't care. It is so much fun to behold.
Because as soon as you put like one of these kaiju type suits in a real life, situation with like normal sized people.
It all falls apart. Suddenly not believable. Is that what you're implying?
Not even as believable as it would be if they were stomping through a miniature city.
Yeah. And you're in for a treat because as soon as the movie starts, you got a guy on the command console and he goes, nothing ever exciting happens around here. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Fantastic. 1968.
It premiered at the tail end of 68 in December, and it opened wide in the US in 69,
Okay.
in spring of 69. Apparently, from what I read, when you run newspaper ads, obviously it's in black and white, but
Right.
in order to stand out, MGM, who distributed this in the US, sprung for bright green font for the title for newspaper ads.
That is a complete color change. That is a different plate just for their ad.
Yeah.
Which was it, a full page ad, or is
I
we're talking
doubt
like
it.
just a little
square?
quarter page?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Did it pay off? Did
No.
people actually go see
No.
this? No, it didn't work.
No.
Damn it, we spent all that money on green print.
It starts with these the original King Kong versus Godzilla level space effects.
Station.
The toy space station floating with a backdrop of the stars behind it. If you look closely, you can see the strings that it's on. What is it called? Gamma 3?
Gamma 3.
It just looks like a giant atom, for lack of a better comparison. And out of the blue comes this giant meatball from space.
Yes, it does. It looks like a blueberry.
An asteroid.
Yeah.
That's suddenly appeared and is going to destroy the Earth because it's on the collision course. So our heroes on Gamma 3 need to go out and destroy it.
And they have 10 hours.
And this is I think this is where they got the plot of Armageddon, actually.
This is actually Armageddon. When they're on this asteroid with drill bits, I'm like, holy shit, Bruce Willis stole this movie.
I know.
This is Armageddon. And they, at least here, they're sending real scientists and astronauts, not a bunch of drill miners.
And also, before they embark on this mission, they send back the one guy. They send out to the space station the one guy they think can run this operation. Commander Jack Rankin, played by Robert Horton, who is best known for his role on Wagon Train.
Oh.
And if those that are not familiar with that show, but are familiar with Stand By Me, Will Wheaton famously says at one point, yeah, I like Wagon Train and all, but you ever notice they just keep wagon training? They never get anywhere.
Well, I think that was actually Gene Roddenberry.
Star Trek
created Star Trek as Wagon Train in space.
Okay.
So there you go.
So he goes up to the station because he's got to lead this team to go out to the asteroid and drill into it to blow it up. But on the space station, Gamma 3, is Commander Vince Elliott, played by Richard Jekyll, who we know from Grizzly. We just watched Grizzly.
Yes.
He's the rip-off Hooper character who lives with the bears and the deer in Grizzly. So apparently he's an incompetent commander because he's made several mistakes, but yet they still put him in charge of this space station. Like, we can't trust this guy to do it. You've got to go up there and lead.
Yeah, this was amazing. And I guess I guess we found out his fiance, his girlfriend, is the nurse.
She's the nurse on the space station. So she's the loser's girlfriend, who, of course, is the ex-girlfriend of the guy coming up to take charge. So
we used to be best friends, but I told him I never wanted to see him again. Yeah, okay.
So
we know that's not true.
This is Dr. Lisa Benson. She's played by Luciana Paluzzi, who
I thought she was Gina Lola Brigida.
She is infamous as being the bad Bond girl in Thunderball. So she was a megastar. When this movie came out, Thunderball was probably seen by more people than any movie in the 60s.
Bad meaning that she was a bad actress, or
no?
Bad
She was the villain. She was the villainess.
Okay, gotcha. She had very Barbarella vibes going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So throughout this movie, there is a love triangle that completely slows down the action. Elliot, who plays the loser commander, you like him. He's coming up here, don't you? Because I'm a loser. No, I don't like him. And then the other guy comes up. Oh, you like me still, don't you? And
yeah. It was like, you mind if I dance with your girlfriend? It's like, dude, no, say no. Yeah, their chemistry was horrible. It wasn't. You didn't buy it that she cared for either one of them.
And again, this asteroid, which is a giant meatball, is just still in space. I'm like, this is the slowest moving asteroid that I have ever seen. It's like a planet.
I think they spent all their budget on rotating the spaceship, so they probably couldn't make the asteroid move. And just hang it on a wire. We'll Fix
Yep.
it in post.
And the
Never
spaceships are all classic. You know, if you've ever seen Destroy All Monsters and you see the model spaceship with the flames coming out the back, that's exactly what this looks like. They take a little shuttle from their Gamma 3 space station and they land on the asteroid with their drilling equipment and what have you. It's not like
it looked like a set of Lost in Space.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
as-
and they got 20 minutes. It's like, all right, man.
So as this is revealed that there's an asteroid coming and they've got to destroy it, that's when we get this theme song unleashed on us, which is like this. And again, this is 68 prime acid rock kind of, and you could picture like the lava lamp light show going off.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of the scene in the Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. When
Oh
they're
yeah,
in the
this is
dance
save
club.
this is Save the Earth pretty much.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
in that very
But
similar
this is
vein.
just this gets in your head. You cannot get it out.
But the chorus is I don't
Green
know
Slime?
how somebody could write a song about green slime, but they did it.
They did it.
It's it's in your mind, the green slime.
Kudos to you.
And this was released as a single back then. You could buy this on a record.
And yet it still didn't bring people into
No,
the theater because
no.
this is I love these movies that make the future look like the 60s. Like you can't I mean, she's running around, which is basically an Austin Powers fembot outfit.
And all the outer shots of the futuristic city on Earth where the Houston home base is looks just like something when you're on the People Mover at Disney World, like the futuristic
Yeah.
city, the model city that they've got.
That's probably what they filmed.
Yeah.
Was Epcot up and running then? No.
Nope,
No.
it was not. It was not. They named the asteroid Flora, by the way.
Why? Why do you even go out of your way to name it?
Before our hero, Commander Rankin, even gets up to the space station, as they're putting him in the shuttle to go to the space station, he gets in the elevator with some grunt who's manning the elevator for him. And then you see the scene cut after the elevator's doors close and then they open again. And he's heard this guy's life story, apparently. He says to him, "I'll see what I can do about that promotion," as he leaves the elevator.
Yeah, okay. This guy's not coming back from the asteroid. This is not the guy you're begging for a promotion from. And you're right. You know, they got to get up there. They got to drill this hole. They got to put explosives in it. They have 20 minutes. It's now all of a sudden the asteroid sped up.
Now you got less time. But as they're on this asteroid and they're doing their job, a scientist goes out with them. Now, he insisted that he come. He's in the space station. So he's like the Ash from Alien.
Yes, that's exactly who he is. He's like, listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I want to go on the asteroid with you guys. So he's the ship's scientist or doctor or whatever. And of course, he's the one that causes all the problems because he sees this green slime like substance all over the place.
Look what I found.
So it's this undulating, green blob for lack of a better.
I'm not bringing it back.
Yep. So he puts it in. He's trying to put it in. He picks it up with tongs, right? And he's trying to put it in.
At one point, tweezers.
Yeah. And invariably, after these guys are successful at drilling into the asteroid and blowing it up, this is just the first, the very beginning of the movie. It's what gets them.
I think we're not even like 20 minutes in.
So they're successful, but when they get back to the space station, of course, that doctor has a bit of green slime still on his pants. But doesn't
Jack slap it? He slaps it out of his hand. He goes, "You can't take that with you." Like he's a little kid who caught a crawfish on the Jersey Shore. He's like, "You're not taking that back in the car." And he slaps it out of his hand. But yeah, it splatters on him. And I love it. Like they're trying to escape. This thing's going to blow up. And Jack's like, "All right, give it. You got to go faster." And he's like, "I'm giving it all she's got, Captain." Mm-hmm. And he just steps on the guy's foot. It's like, "No, we got to go. We got to go."
Yep.
And I guess we don't need helmets in space once you're in the spaceship.
No, they're visors, you see. When you pull them down manually, then you're set.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold your breath. No seatbelts. We don't need seatbelts.
No.
All right. Got it. I do need to point out, in real life, we just received samples from a 4.5 billion year old asteroid that came back from NASA on one of their probes, bringing traces of carbon and water molecules. So, advisory tale here. Should somebody have watched this movie before they greenlit this mission?
Celebration runs rampant on the space station now that they've successfully destroyed the asteroid.
Oh, this is a hoedown.
So this is like a huge party. There's like, 50, 60 people on this space station.
Yeah, this guy, they get a real Luke Skywalker welcome here, man.
And so this is what's crazy is that all the men are still in uniform, yet all the women have these party dresses on.
Yeah.
Like, what is this, a USO presentation or something?
And Lisa comes right through the containment. He even says, "What are you doing? You can't be in here. We didn't get decontaminated yet." And it's like, well, too late now.
All the outfits do get put into an isolation chamber, for whatever reason. But whatever heat is going on in there causes that slime to congeal and
I don't know. It was like an oozing pus. It just was like, do you ever have a cat eat plants and then puke it back up? That's what this looks like. It looks like a foamy cat vomit. I painted a picture for you.
So the one guy that's manning, who didn't get invited to the party, that's stuck, watching the contamination chamber, he sees the lights going off, and he is the first victim of the green slime.
I love this. When they find him, they're like, "Well, he put up a hell of a fight." I'm like, "Fight? He freaking threw his hands in the air and cried like a little girl. He didn't fight. He dropped."
They establish that this green slime can mutate into actual living beings that walk on two legs and have tentacles, much like Sigmund and the sea monsters. It's like a cross between the Minions and Sigmund and the sea monster.
Green, yeah.
Because they have one blinking red eye.
Oh,
and
great.
They're green rather than yellow, but they look like little capsules because they got round heads. And they have swinging tentacles with, like lobster claws on the ends of them. It sounds a lot cooler than it actually is.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I dug it.
And just like Alien, you can't shoot these things because they don't have acid blood, but the blood that they do spill, and of course it's green, grows into other aliens.
So how are you going to you can only shoot it out the airlock because they spend way too much time shooting these things. Now they're just bleeding everywhere.
And the noise that these things make, because they catch up with the monster that attacks the first person, and they can conduct electricity. That's their main weapon. So they electrocute you when they actually get their claws into you. And so all their victims have horrific burns all over they've been electrocuted.
And this is a rated G movie.
So many movies of this kind were rated G back then that still had this sci-fi violence.
Horrific. Yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi violence.
Yeah.
We got one guy going splat, another one gets zapped, getting thrown over the side, and he's just, there's some carnage going on here.
And so they catch up with the first creature. It looks like a baby because it's on its back, it can't stand up yet. It's like wah, 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 wah. And they all make the same sound, this weird electronic noise. And so it learns to walk as they're trying to work out what this thing is, and it attacks a few people. The doctor says to the loser commander, "You can't kill this. We have to take it back." And the loser commander agrees as it's killing his men. It's like,
yeah, you're right. All right. Now he's Burke from Aliens. We gotta save this thing.
But our hero commander knows better. He knows that it has to be killed. How about we
kill it and then you just take the dead body back?
Yeah. That I think that would make everybody happy. But then they work out that they can't kill it because its blood makes other aliens. And I love the security on this space station because they have what looks like football helmets on. So one guy actually picks up the phone because he's talking to somebody else on the ship, and he has to put it to his face because his ear is covered.
And I'm not up on my 60s slang, but at one point, didn't Elliot, he was like, "Jack and I doped it out." And I'm like, "Doped it out? What does that even mean?"
So now the infirmary is filling up with guys.
This is fantastic, this whole sequence.
So now I remember this scene because this is what sold me on the movie as a kid, because when they showed the commercial for it, like Coming Tomorrow on the 4:30 movie, they had the scene where the door opens of the infirmary and they're all, the monsters are there with their tentacles, right? So it's a great visual.
Apparently, they're stymied by a hospital bed. That's enough to keep them at bay.
And Dr. Lisa, throws herself on one of the patients who's helpless to save him.
Wow, thank you very much, doctor. Yeah, but the other doctor's fried. He gets taken out.
The guy that actually brought the slime onto the ship, yeah, he gets his just
Yeah.
desserts. He certainly
Teach
does.
you. I'll
Yeah.
teach you. Yeah, there's a lot of blood splattered.
A lot of green slime splattered as well.
Yes. So I guess there's only one thing to do: blow up the space station.
I think what they try to do first is to lock them all away in one section of the ship. The C block, right? That doesn't work
C block,
so well.
yeah.
And then suddenly they bust out of the ship and they're on the outside of the ship. So they are going to just completely destroy this space station. And when you see shots at the outside of the ship, they're just like little dots that they've put on the out. They don't even look like they have any mass to them.
It's a massive space station. You got to show scale.
So now it's like an alien situation where they need to abandon ship and destroy it in order to not let these things get to Earth.
And that's we get the our heroes in spacesuits flying around outside is also a pretty spectacular visual. Yeah.
And so they get in the escape shuttle, and somebody has to stay behind in order to, for some reason, to manually open the hatch, or because the things have disabled the hatch. And so,
Bobby, you want to turn the lights off before you go?
So our loser commander redeems himself at the end by sacrifice. They still actually the hero commander flies back with a spacesuit through space to grab the guy's body and bring it home, but he's still dead. So I don't know why that whole thing, maybe to give him a funeral, right? To send him off.
See, honey, he's dead. You want to date me now?
Yeah, that's exactly how it ends. I'm like, okay, now the other two are together, just like they should have been to begin with.
Right. You saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Elliot never had a chance.
But the space station explodes in flame. I'm like, does flame burn in outer space?
Oh, yeah, sure. We see it on the back end of every rocket ship in the 60s.
So our survivors escape to go back to the Earth. Apparently there is no more slime, so there's no closing shot of slime on somebody else's costume.
Well, like we said, there's blood splattering everywhere.
Yeah.
So I hope they all checked their shoes. We never had a sequel, so I guess they made it okay.
Hopefully, yes. You would think that they did. But most importantly, we get the song again over the end credits. Like, I wish they played that song again. Oh, there it is.
Yes. Charlie Fox, who wrote that theme song, also wrote the songs for Barbarella. And I did see Bill Finger. This is one of his few credited screenplays. Bill Finger is the co-creator of Batman.
Yeah.
With Bob Kane.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. I wish Batman had come and saved the day. That would have been fun.
So again, this was actually it was 3 different studios were involved in the production of this. MGM, as we knew, and they were in charge of the US distribution. Toei, it's the Japanese studio that was responsible, I think, most famously for the Kamen Rider TV show.
Okay.
And Ram Films, which was Italian. So this was a 3-way production. As we said, the Japanese version is 77 minutes long compared to the US version, which is 90 minutes long. And just like the 4:30 movie, the Japanese cut the entire love triangle from the film.
That's got to be a little confusing, though. Maybe not. Maybe you don't care.
Maybe they could have done it cleanly. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, get rid of all that subplot in the party scene. Yeah.
So it was produced in Japan on Japanese sets with a Japanese director, and he had a translator, yet the cast was entirely English. So it was just a weird dynamic. Kinji Fukasaku was the director, and he's known for his gritty Yakuza films.
Oh,
so this is
not so gritty.
Sits really outside the rest of his resume. This film.
You think he even puts it on his resume?
Probably not.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that one. Yeah, it was a paycheck, I'm sure. I mentioned Mystery Science Theater 3000, and this film has the dubious honor of being the very first film that they ever spoofed, but it never aired, from my understanding. This was simply their demo tape.
Yeah, it was the pilot episode.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's exactly what I was looking at. The pilot episode. Right. But why how come they never went back to this?
Maybe because they didn't have because this is an MGM movie, so maybe they never got the rights
A lot
for
of that
it.
stuff, yeah, it goes right into interesting.
The creatures were played by Japanese children in rubber suits.
But of course, wouldn't have it any other way.
So you had already mentioned that Charles Fox wrote the theme song. He also was in charge of the music. The music you hear in this is not an original score because the budget was already gone and Fox came on after the movie was finished. So he was tasked with taking existing music and fitting it to the movie. He took some of his music that he'd done for previous films and fit it here and there. And then he also used stock music. So I didn't know this until after I watched the movie this time. And a lot of these cues sounded like music from Night of the Living Dead, which was all stock music. So I'm like, I bet you that was the same music.
That's pretty wild. I wouldn't have known that.
And as I said before, they used green ink for a lot of the U.S. newspaper ads, which would stick right out at you as you were going through the paper.
Yeah.
And it did show after its initial run, it would show in midnight movies in the late 60s, early 70s for inebriated and otherwise audiences.
Yes, there you go. That's a target market right there.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
It's an enhanced experience for sure.
Yeah. And as I was looking at this, because after the movie was over, I just needed another hit of that theme song. So I went on YouTube and I found that there's this recording artist. Her name is Josie Cotton. And in 2007, she released an album called Invasion of the Bee Girls. And it's completely made up of movies that had theme songs like this. So it's a covers album. And this song is one of the songs she covered.
Nice.
So I don't know. Are we giving buckets to these movies?
I don't think we can. I will say that I enjoyed the hell out of this. This was a treat. And yes, is it craptacular? Absolutely. I don't think they made it to be bad. I'm assuming that you said it didn't do so well in the box office.
No, I couldn't get box office numbers because they weren't really readily logged back then, especially for movies like this.
Right.
But as I said, it was well enough known to become a cult movie not so long after its release. But there were reviews. It did actually make its way into newspapers at the time. Variety called it a poor man's 2001. I'm like, very poor man's 2001.
That's just bad.
And said that the effects were amateurish. I'm like, this is a kind review, I think. To just get away with amateurish in a poor man's 2001. The Times actually gave it a backhand compliment. The New York Times opens promisingly, keeps it up for about half an hour, but then fades badly. It falls to pieces when the Green Menace becomes an army of rubbery-looking goblins.
What did you think? What did you think it was going to be?
Yeah.
Did you see the green inked ad?
Yeah.
The giant one-eyed creature tentacles?
So it got beat up when it was released by the critics. It's still out there on DVD and Blu-ray. Warner released the high definition Blu-ray version in 2017, and from what I see, you can still get that on Amazon if you go looking for it.
Not Best Buy.
Not Best Buy. Don't bother.
Don't go to Best Buy. I'm assuming that must have been the transfer I watched streaming because it looked pretty damn clean.
Yeah, all these 60s movies have that Technicolor real clean.
Yeah, and the grain's all gone. I mean, it's for what it was. It looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, and if you want to do a movie about Greem Slime, that Technicolor really lends itself to it.
Yeah, and even the hand etched laser blasts that they were employing there.
Yeah,
about the only thing we were missing was a flamethrower.
But yeah, do yourself a favor. Go look for that theme song on YouTube.
Yeah,
if you don't watch this movie, just go listen to that theme song. Then you'll want to watch it after that. I already
shared it on our Facebook page.
Oh, okay. Just go to our Facebook page.
There you go. So that was this was a delight.
Well, I'm glad I brought this into your life.
Did you really think I think otherwise?
I don't know.
I think
Sometimes you're unpredictable. Sometimes you're unpredictable.
Am I that unpredictable? Oh, interesting.
No, but I was pretty certain that you'd be on board with this one.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the name of the episode is Craptacular. So it's meant to be cringe inducing. I just embraced it. Cringy and all. So well done.
We're actually extending our Craptacular theme right into the concession stand.
We are. Yes, I held true to this because in the spirit of this week's theme, Craptacular, we're going to dive headfirst into one of the most controversial and, dare I say, vile candies ever put upon the American populace. And I'm not talking candy corn.
And he's not talking Butterfinger either.
No, I almost did that. Don't get me wrong. I almost did that just because you hate Butterfingers so much. I just happened to be watching the Food That Made America, and there was a whole history on Butterfingers, and I'm like, oh, I really should. But no, we have to talk about this because this is perfect. These are the spongy orange legumes known as circus peanuts.
Oh.
I don't know a single person who likes these.
There's got to be somebody. There's got to be somebody that would be offended.
Sure,
by this, right?
Just like we're loving this Craptacular movies that other people who may or may not be on the show would not appreciate.
Because why would they still make them if nobody bought them? Somebody's got to be buying these things.
Yeah. So if you don't know what these are, circus peanuts are basically they're foamy marshmallow treats that are shaped like a peanut, the color of an orange, and yet somehow taste like a banana. So why? So there doesn't really seem to be an answer. I delved pretty deep, and these are one of the oldest candies still sold today.
Now, I remember these. Now tell me if you feel the same way or if you have the same memory as I do. But you see this less and less, thankfully, these days. But when I was a kid, there'd always be some pop-up circus that would, raise its tent in my area that would be up for a week, and you'd go. They'd always have popcorn at the concession stand, and they would have these circus peanuts. I guess hence the name. So I remember having them at the circus, like you had to have them, but you never liked them. But it was just something you had to do when you went to the circus.
So your parents forced these on you? Like they were like,
no,
I want popcorn. No.
No, they didn't force me. I felt like, maybe
felt obligated.
Maybe my memory wasn't really that advanced at that age. Like I could,
like you forgot you hated them the next time you went.
Whenever I would have them, it would be like after 2, I'd get it like a stomach ache. And
that is so funny you say that. So, yes, these were actually created in the 1800s specifically for traveling circuses. So you experienced exactly what they were created for.
Yeah.
And numerous companies claim that they've created this weird concoction, but the origin story is just kind of lost to time. No one really knows who. There's no one person or company that's credited with the creation. But unlike other candies that we've discussed, the recipe is not proprietary. So there are still companies out there that are making these peanuts. And one of them is Spangler Candy. And they were founded in 1906. And they claim to be the largest maker of these treats. Obviously, they have the banana flavor, as I mentioned. But they also have seasonally flavored vanilla cherry.
They don't have chocolate?
There's not chocolate. Spangler's known for Dum Dum lollipops.
Oh, that's Spangler.
And candy canes, but they've been producing circus peanuts since the 1930s in Northwest Ohio. And apparently they were only sold in the spring for years, I guess to coincide with the traveling circuses. I don't know how long circuses, I mean, they're probably not traveling in the winter and in the fall. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But it wasn't until polyurethane film was created in the 40s that you could actually wrap them, protect them. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of what I don't like about them is this texture.
Yes, and they're large too. So
yes.
hence the stomach ache.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's a lot of candy to ingest, even
Yeah,
a
and-
couple of them.
And apparently there is a large amount of sugar. We'll get into the actual ingredients, but during World War II, when there was a sugar shortage or rations, the Spangler Candy Company started selling Circus peanut slurry as a sugar replacement. So it was like it wasn't a solidified, it was like a goopy, it probably looked like the blood from those stupid aliens. Except pink, orange.
Right.
A slurry? That sounds vomit inducing. That is horrible. So the vice president of operations at Spangler, this guy, Steve Kerr, claims that this manufacturing of this candy is really difficult because you've got all these variables coming together. They said there's little room for error when it comes to cooking temperatures and ingredients. These are a very temperamental candy. It's mainly sugar, gelatin, corn syrup, and artificial flavors, as most candy is. But the toughest part is getting just the right moisture. Too much will leave a thin, crusty layer on the outside. Too dry, and they'll cave inward. So this is an art form. This is like a souffle.
I remember, there's the peanut side that's kind of got the divots like a peanut, and then when you turn it over, it's got like that. It's like
concave.
Exactly. It's like
it's not flat,
rounded, but inwards. So like a concave kind of smooth backing to it.
Yeah, I guess So the mixture is squirted into these starch molds, and then they pull out the moisture and they shape the peanut. But this thing has to crystallize in temperature-controlled rooms for about 24 hours. So again, this is not some just massive assembly line where these things are being, you watch these candy shows or whatever, and these, the candy bars are being mass produced. This is like a finely tuned snack. And I guess in 2006, the latest article I could come up with, they were manufacturing 32,000 pounds per day.
Wow.
Yeah. And over the years, they've made a heart-shaped Valentine's Day. They've done bunnies, chicks, and eggs for Easter. And then they even had a Santa and Christmas tree holiday themed. But those were discontinued because I guess people did not, I don't know, people didn't want to eat gummy Santas? I don't know.
Didn't want to eat the stuff, period. I'm surprised that all of it's not discontinued.
Yeah. Even more surprising, in the 2000s, they teamed up with Disney and distributed a Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, and Tigger candy that were flavored cotton candy, cherry, banana, and lemon. I miss those.
So does it say why they're shaped like peanuts? Is it because
it is because of the fact that they're circus. You just tie it into the theme with the, you go to a circus, you said you get a little bag of probably salted peanuts, roasted peanuts, and you get popcorn.
And who likes to eat peanuts? The elephants. Yeah.
Elephants. Who doesn't like to eat these?
Elephants?
I can't imagine elephants. No, actually, the vice president of Spangler Candy says, I'm not a big fan. So even the guy who makes these, doesn't like them. He won't even eat this crap. But oddly enough, over the years, I guess, candy sales have kind of flattened out. And yet, year after year, these things have exceeded expectations, have increased their sales. Or this is according to their website. I don't know. Is it hyperbole? Are they trying to make us think that people really want these things? You see them. You can go into Marshall's or Michael's, and at the little candy section, there's a little bag of them.
Those are pretty much the only places. And just like we were saying last week for the Gold Nugget bubble gum.
Yeah.
That and like Cracker Barrel, probably. They're specialty. You can't just get them at your local 7-Eleven or convenience store.
That's probably a good thing. Go hunt these things down if you want them. You do have Circus peanuts to thank for the creation of Lucky Charms, though.
Because of the marshmallows?
Yep. In 1964, a General Mills employee chopped pieces of the circus peanut and put it in his bowl of Cheerios.
Oh, that's ruined for me now, forever.
Thus creating Lucky Charms. Even more disgusting, this is horrific. I looked up, there are recipes that people cook with these things. You can roast them on the campfire like a s'more. I can't imagine, they must burn. That's all sugar. There's actually a very famous Jell-O salad.
Oh.
Speaking of vomit inducing, wait, it gets better. You can serve them on a burger.
That's terrible.
And there's appetizers wrapped in bacon.
Oh, man. I think the only people that actually buy these, now that I, ponder this, is grandmothers thinking that kids
the
like
kids
them.
still like them.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, if you're a fan of these, you're in a cult. That's all I gotta say. You were abused as a child, and you have a warped sense of what is good in all this world. I don't know. Listen, I can't. I eat some crappy stuff. I'm not gonna throw shade on anybody who loves these, but I despise them. And I don't know if it's the artificial banana flavor, if it's the texture, it's
the size.
There's a lot going on here.
Overly sweet.
Yes.
I think they regain their form in your stomach, and they hang out with the Mucinex guy down there.
Yeah, I didn't write this down, but they were interviewing like some of the guys who actually do quality control, and the guy's like, I can't digest more than like 1.5. So you're right in there. Yeah. More than that, and you're putting your digestive system at risk.
Right. Oh, man.
So there you go. There's no other place for us to talk circus peanuts. And I will laugh my ass off if Christina comes back and tells us that she loves these things.
She's given the case for candy corn.
That is true.
In the past. So could be. I don't know.
I don't know. I honestly don't know anybody who likes these, but they're out there.
Yes, they are.
Companies
They're
are
still
making
there.
them, and,
Still there.
And people are buying them. So good on you. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Circus peanuts.
So let's leave the concession stand quickly away from these circus peanuts before I lose it.
I don't know. After this next movie, we might want to go back to the Circus Peanuts factory.
Comparatively, Butterfingers are a delicacy.
Butterfingers. I almost went that route just for you. Yeah, I had a hard time with this choice. I narrowed it down to 4. And then after I chose this movie, I came across a scene from Mac and Me. And I just happened to be watching something that was a YouTube video on the history of McDonald's. And Mac and Me, if anybody, it's an ET ripoff, is a McDonald's production. They actually wanted to get into the filmmaking industry. And this was their foray. And there's a whole scene in a McDonald's. Now, this was 1981, 82. And Ronald McDonald is there. And there's this giant rap dance, breakdancing contest that breaks out.
That movie had to have been after E.T.
After
it's
E.T.
basically an E.T.
maybe
ripoff, right?
83. I didn't write down what year it was. It doesn't matter because that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about 1980 Popeye. Another one I haven't seen probably since the 80s. I am assuming you did not see this in the theater.
I did see it in the theater.
You did see it in the theater. So did I.
I was so excited to see this movie because, again, we were really in a golden age and we were spoiled as kids because that magical time after Star Wars came out and suddenly all these blockbusters, you had high expectations after Star Wars. Every time you went to the movie theater, sometimes you were sorely disappointed. Star Trek, the motion picture, I'm thinking of you.
Yep.
And sometimes you were, and Black Hole is another one that I was
looking at you, Disney.
That I was sobered by. But Popeye was another one of these because kids of our generation, I doubt any kid knows really has ever seen a Popeye cartoon, first of all. They may know the character in some peripheral kind of sense, but Popeye was on, after school on the syndicated channels. So I watched it regularly. So I knew the characters, Bluto and Wimpy and Olive Oil.
Yeah. No, we all knew who Popeye was. Right.
And almost more importantly, we all knew who Robin Williams was. Yeah. Because of Mork and Mindy. This was filmed between season 3 and season 4 of Mork and Mindy. And this was his first theatrical foray. Unbelievably so. It does make sense, of course, that it was, but To actually read that is still surprising that this was
Yeah.
his first movie.
But you mentioned this 1980, which was a weird year anyways. So it was odds because my parents had divorced 76, 80. My dad was already off his second marriage. And he had taken my brother and I to the theater quite a lot that year. So I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater. I saw Airplane. I saw Caddyshack. 10-year-old kids should not be watching Caddyshack. And he took us to go see Popeye, which was a Christmas release, right? It was like in December.
December. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, we all knew who Popeye was. Okay, let's go. And I remember sitting in the theater and that's not true. The boxing match sticks out to me. But even as a kid, you walk out of this and you're just like, what? No, I was 13. I wasn't even 10. My wife was 10. I was 13.
You see, I was 10 when I saw
Yeah.
this in the theater.
Which I think is probably a better age because
Yes, yeah. My son would never. I didn't even attempt. He would never sit through this.
well, here's what blew my mind, which was the minute I told my wife what the theme of this week was, and then that I was choosing Popeye, she gave me a puss and she's like, I love Popeye. I'm like, what? I've known you for 29 years. This has never come up. She knew the lyrics to every one of these songs.
My wife gave me a look as well. She said, "I hate that movie."
Oh, there you
And-
go. That's why we chose it.
But so she decided to take a nap as it was on.
Oh,
because we watched
she did it. So
we
you
wa-
suffered in silence.
We watched it during the middle of the day, but no, whenever the next song came on and there's
There's a lot of songs.
there's a lot of them, she would open her eyes. Oh, I remember this. Oh,
See?
I remember this. Yeah.
But my wife's going, I remember this. Like it's completely different. And she's singing. And, so my wife, we can only speculate that this was probably a movie that her dad had recorded maybe off HBO on a VHS tape. And so they had it in the house and they would just watch it ad nauseum. I mean, she knew the lyrics. Now, to call some of these songs is being very generous.
Yes. Well, they're all written by, a very competent songwriter, Harry Nilsson.
I don't know. I heard some disparaging things about this guy.
Well, I think he's most well known. He sang that "I Can't Live If Living Is Without You" song.
That's him, Harry
That's
Nilsson.
him. And he also wrote famously the Midnight Cowboy theme. Everybody's talking.
Oh, gotcha.
And he was like a huge friend of John Lennon and Alice Cooper in the 70s. So he was in the public eye quite a bit. So he was a known quantity back then.
Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think he took a ding on this one.
Yeah.
So.
But I think watching this again, and I saw this not only in the theater, but on HBO, I pretty much knew this movie in
it's
and
been
out.
a year since I've seen this, and yet there were beats that I remember specifically. I want to get in I want to just kind of hit the history of Popeye a little bit for anyone who's out there who's a little bit younger than us and doesn't know, because this character has been around for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Like you said, we grew up with these cartoons, which were well in syndication and in numerous reruns long before we were ever born. So E.C. Seeger, who actually created this Popeye character, was born in 1894. And he was a newspaper cartoonist, and he introduced this character in a comic strip called Thimble Theater in 1929. 1929, that's almost 100 years ago.
Mm.
So Betty Boop, who was another character, a very famous animated character, of that time, had a bunch of animated shorts, and Popeye showed up on one of her shorts, and this was his very first appearance in animation in 1933. And he was inspired by a real life sailor, a guy that this guy, E.C. Seeger, knew. His name was Frank Rocky Fiegel, and he was a rough and tumble man whom E.C. knew from his hometown and who worked at the local saloon as a bouncer. And as a result, he was always getting into fights, and the punches he took resulted in a deformed eye, leading to people calling him Popeye. That's where the name came from, because the guy had one eye. Yeah. And I guess he was like this local legend. So he was the basis. His tombstone actually says, inspiration for Popeye on it. So yeah, Popeye's been around for almost 100 years. Crazy.
Yeah. Not only, I think Hanna-Barbera got the TV rights at some point, but Paramount had the theatrical rights, because just like Disney shorts or Warner Brothers shorts, between the 30s and the 50s, Paramount produced many Popeye theatrical shorts to show before full-length movies. So Paramount always kept the theatrical rights. And when they lost the bidding war to Columbia, I believe, for Annie, they looked in their own stock saying, well, what do we have that we can make a musical for? Like, somebody raised their hand, Popeye. And there they
don't forget Flash Gordon came out this same year as well, right?
Same month. Same month.
So we're digging deep. I mean, Buck Rogers they turned into a TV show, but that was around that same time as well. Like, because, like you said, Star Wars kind of changed everything. So everyone's all of a sudden looking at these properties. But yeah, the opening Paramount logo is weird because it's animated and it goes into what you used to see at the beginning of the Popeye cartoons, where the boat doors open, but that was from the Betty Boop Fleischer animation. So it was a mix of these two, but the animated Popeye that we see at the beginning is voiced by the original actor, Jack Mercer.
Yeah.
Who played that character for over 40 years. And
who unfortunately died just a few years after this movie.
Yeah, this was his last foray as that character. So
but it's a tease. It opens like you're about to watch a Popeye cartoon, and then the little cartoon Popeye pops up. Hey, I thought this was a movie or something. He says something to that effect.
I think I showed up in the wrong movie or something like that. Ask me olive oil. So yes. I can do an olive oil later. So, but and then we launch into this live action. There's a guy rowing a boat in the middle of nowhere,
and I'm like, am I watching Clash of the Titans? What, did I start the wrong movie?
Yeah, and it just goes downhill from there. I remember. Why do I remember this town being like brightly painted? It's not. It's painted like a black and white cartoon.
Right.
It's dreary. All the people, all the denizens of the town, Sweet Haven, are brightly colored and uniforms and costumes and whatever. But the town itself is drab.
But the town itself is just a marvel of movie set building, because it's real scale. They actually built a town on the island country of Malta in the Mediterranean, and it's still there.
It's a tourist attraction.
I'm looking at a photo of it right now, like a contemporary.
Now it looks like they painted it all right. Now it's all brightly painted. It's
some of the buildings
like a Disney-fied. Yeah, they leaned into it. Here, come see where Popeye.
But it's all there. Like, there's the restaurant on one side is still there. All those houses, the main street where Popeye lived with the chute going into the water. It's all there as a town.
I want to go. When I'm in Malta. It's a must.
Next time you're in Malta. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Maybe next weekend. I don't know. Robert Altman, who had a pretty big pedigree director.
Oh yeah, this guy was serious. And from what I read, he was outcast after this movie for like 10 years before he came back in the 90s.
Yeah, there was a lot of the cast really kind of shit on this after the fact.
But like Altman, just to give you an idea, he directed things like MASH, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Long Goodbye, Nashville. And then these were all 70s movies. And then Popeye came out, and you don't see like the big names on his resume until the 90s again. It took him 10 years to get some cachet back.
Wow. Aren't you the guy? No.
Nobody came out of this unscathed, maybe except Robin Williams.
Well, here's what I will say about it, because it is a sight to behold. And if you go to IMDb, there's a lot of crap thrown at this, but there's also a lot of love. And I think that people have come back, and yes, it is craptacular. It is, you watch this and it is a train wreck, but you can't look away.
And again, it's very hard for me to say something about this movie objectively, because I loved this as a kid, and I came out of that theater thinking it was great.
The bee's knees.
The bee's knees, yeah.
Were you mad when I picked this then?
No,
Like,
I wasn't.
really?
I wasn't because then after seeing it over and over and over again on HBO, I kind of got, well, sick of it might be too
Okay.
strong of a word, but I just tired of it. So I became
Yeah.
so overly familiar with it. I tired of it and I felt no need to watch it again, in the years that followed. So watching it now, it was a very pleasurable experience. And yeah, I'll admit that it's a train wreck and it's got too many songs.
You're 2 minutes in and they're already 2 songs deep.
Yeah.
And they're barely songs. I mean, we get the little theme of Sweet Haven and you get introduced. There's a lot of slapstick going on here. And there's a lot of pratfalls and goofy, the guys walking down the street and, the Charlie Chaplin, he's kicking the hat forward and he can't catch it. And he finally jumps in the air like a cat in order to land on it so it doesn't, fly away again. There's so many sight gags. Like there's a scene where when Popeye comes in on the boat and he immediately gets attacked by the tax man and everything's being taxed.
You know who that guy is, right? The tax man?
I saw his name. I don't know who he was.
Those eyebrows are unmistakable. John Carpenter's The Thing. He's the commander of the station.
Yes. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Donald Moffat is
Okay.
the actor's name. He plays Gary, the station commander in The Thing.
Well, here he's just the tax man.
Here he's the tax man. Yes.
He's just running around taking money from it. I don't know how anybody has all that money for those taxes, but there's a scene where Popeye rents a room from Olive Oil's family and they're all sitting at the dinner table and there's so much as chaos going on. People are talking over top of each other. Popeye's trying to find a seat to sit down. It doesn't even look like there's food in the bowl as they're passing it around. But
and the father, every other thing, I deserve an apology or something.
Yeah, I was actually gonna paraphrase him and give you an apology at the end of this, but now it seems like you were happy to watch this again. So I'm gonna back off. This is like the movie, there's a lot going on, but nothing's happening. There's really no plot.
There is only so much they could do with this. So maybe padding it out as a musical was the only way they could have gone to stretch this into a feature film. But another issue that I had with it as a kid, and it didn't really affect it the first time I saw it, but it was a key ingredient in what made me tire of it over the years, is that I could only understand half of what Robin Williams was saying.
Well, you and every other person, even the ones that were on I can't imagine the closed captioning for this must be a nightmare.
No, just like anything else, I watched it with closed captioning and I'm like, that's what he said. That's funny. But a lot of the stuff you couldn't even understand when you heard it. And if you didn't have subtitles and, you couldn't pick subtitles when you watched it on HBO or
correct,
whatever.
Right. Yeah. But say, because he talks and his school with a closed caption actually spelling out the right word.
Because he would end a lot of words in K.
Yeah.
And it would spell that, but when you're reading it, you can tell what he's saying.
Okay.
So I didn't even think as a kid that he was saying anything. It was just mumbling.
Well, yeah, because apparently they had to go back and re-loop. This is very jarring to me because they went back and re-looped it. Well, they also, Altman demanded that they actually sing live, which isn't normally. Usually you go in the studio, you record the song, and then you just lip sync it on set. This is the opposite. So some of these songs, the Olive Oil song, but Popeye was so unintelligible on set that he had to go back and re-loop this stuff. But I think
and apparently that didn't work either because I still didn't understand.
But the mixing, it doesn't sound like he's talking. It sounds like I got a speaker behind me that's just playing his voice. It's overpowering everything else that's going on. They don't really seem like they're interacting with each other. It's like there's Bluto's song. There's lines of dialogue and he's clearly not saying it. He's not moving his lips. He's not.
Yeah, that guy needed to put a little more effort into the lip syncing.
They're like, listen, you look the part, you're good to go.
Yeah. But for example, some of the things that Popeye is mumbling, and how he mispronounces words, when he first shows up in Sweet Haven and he walks up to Olive Oil's boarding house or whatever it is, you got a room for rank. And and that's what the subtitles said, RENK.
Okay, so the subtitles are actually spelling out the way he's pronouncing these words.
Way he's pronouncing
that's
those
why
words.
I was like, all right. So, but yeah, like you listen to the one song where he's singing it in the prostitution den. I am what I am. What am I song?
The cross between the horse betting parlor and
the whorehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sweet Haven, baby. Did they keep that house? Is that part of the tour?
It's got to be, because there's several houses there.
But yeah, the lyrics, I ain't no doctors, but I know when I'm losing me patience.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't no physicist, but I know what matters. I am what I am, what I am, and I am what I am, and I am. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of funny, but you're right. You really have to work hard to understand what he's saying.
And some of that stuff really, like, outside of the lyrics of the song, when he first gets to the boarding house, Olive Oil's all like, whoa, whoa, because she's about to have an engagement party to Bluto.
Yeah, her entire dialogue. There.
And when he meets her, he says, "What kind of a name is Olive Oil? Sounds like some kind of lubricants." And
lubricants. Yeah, later he's like, I'm looking for me olive oil. I'm looking for me sweet pea. He goes, "What are you making, a salad?" That might have been the only line I really chuckled at.
You know what I always thought was funny, even as a kid, when he has the picture and you see it just says "me pappy."
Yeah, and then later you see that Pappy has what it says "me son." There's a lot of fun sight gags. I will admit it. There's a lot of funny, like I said, dialogue wise, you can't even comprehend what half these characters are saying. And then there's so many characters that are just running around. We're introduced to Wimpy, who we all know. "Oh, I'll gladly pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today." I'm like, that hamburger looks horrible. I would never pay you any time for that hamburger. But we got Castor Oil, who looks like Flounder. So, and then later we're introduced to this Oxblood Oxheart, the big boxer. And I thought that was the actual Butterbeans, the big boxer. But this guy is Peter Bray. He's a monster. This guy's huge. But I will say, I'm going to say this right now. This is probably the most faithful adaptation of a comic ever put to celluloid. This is so true to the cartoon. I mean, where he's got these massive, calves. They're all wearing oversized shoes. He's got obviously he's got the bulking forearms. He's got that face down to a science.
And as if you can't already see the forearms when he takes off his jacket for the first time, the camera has to give you a close up. Like, look at his forearms.
The early on, they didn't get them. They couldn't get them right. So that's why he was wearing that jacket through the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Well, it's also raining, because you would hope that he does have a raincoat.
Well, I want to know how many outfits he really had in that duffel bag, because he was changing clothes a lot. But yeah, if you watch the boxing scene, there's a point where he lifts his arm up and you can see like his arm underneath it. It's just like those forearms are just kind of like wrapped around, and it looked like a boxing glove over his arm, and you could actually see it wasn't like the special effects weren't quite there in some of the early shots. But yeah, I mean, with his delivery and the look and everything is brightly colored. Like I said, the town itself is drab, but the people are brightly colored and the costumes are spot on. I mean, we talk all the time like these superhero movies, and they shy away. X-Men movie, went with the black unitards because they couldn't nail those brightly colored. Now I think Marvel's a little in line, but this is a comic strip. This is a very, very faithful adaptation, maybe to its detriment. I don't know.
But it does seem that every single set piece is introduced with a song. So every time they change the locale, each different locale has to have a song.
Yeah, I think the lyrics of the songs, whether you understand them or not, kind of propel the story forward a little bit, because there is no story. He's a stranger and they don't want anything to do with him. I find this hysterical. He comes on the shore and they're locking up their houses. There's a stranger, and yet a giant boat with a boxing fat man shows up, and they can't wait to go hang out with him. I think by the time you get to the end of it and you're actually introduced to the poop deck Pappy, like he just does like spoken word. He's not even singing. Did they just give up? They're like, enough of this singing.
But yeah, so for example, like Everything is Food is that one song when they all sing all the diners before Popeye encounters the tough guys. One of them is Dennis Franz.
Dennis Franz.
it's established that Popeye can kick some ass without spinach, but he just can't.
Yeah, he
kick
doesn't like-
Bluto.
he
He
doesn't
just
like
can't beat
spinach.
Bluto without spinach. He can even
Yeah.
beat the other guy, the butterbean guy, but without spinach.
With these. When he does the punching bag on the guy's face, that probably still elicits a big chuckle from me.
But
Because again,
yeah,
he's rolling down. He's getting punched by Brutus. Bluto. I'm sorry, Brutus was Bluto's name later in the animated series because there was a copyright issue. Do you remember that where Bluto became Brutus?
no, I don't remember
You
that.
don't. And that's always okay. So in the cartoon series. In 1957, Bluto's name was changed to Brutus because it was incorrectly believed by Kingfishers that Paramount Pictures, distributors of the Fleischer Studios cartoons, owned the rights to the name Bluto. So as a kid, that's very confusing. It's one and the same. And I think in the comic strip, they kind of make a joke about it. And Bluto's brother is Brutus. And they're twins. They look the same. So that's neither here nor there. So Bluto, who's engaged to Olive Oil, yet it doesn't look like he cared or she cared one way or the other.
No, because she was running out on it in the same night of the party.
Yeah.
But the overriding goal of Popeye is to find his father because he got a vision from his dead mother that his father was still alive. So that's why he has
him at 2-year-old.
Yeah. So he doesn't have a picture of his father. That's why he has the picture that says "Me Pappy"
right
on it. So he's looking for his dad.
And I think this is the first time where I'm like, all right, now the idea that he finds Sweet Pea, the little baby that was abandoned, it's a little more of a connection because he was also abandoned. So now he feels a certain connection to protect this baby.
Yeah. And of course, what's always ingrained in my memory is the scene where she's running around, rattlesnake.
Oh, yeah. Dear, oh.
Because she hears the rattle of Sweet Pea
and my wife told me that scared the crap out of her when she do you really think that was a rattlesnake?
But of course, before she finds Sweet Pea and before she runs out on Bluto, she has to sing the He's Large song. He's large.
And she's got the backup spinster sisters there. Yeah, and he tears up. This guy's got some serious anger issues. He's got limited vocabulary. He's got abusive tendencies and serious anger. It's like,
and as you said, when he punches out Popeye, and then you see like the fake dummy rolling down the street, that's also another thing that's in my memory forever. But again, spot on from the cartoon. Yeah.
The only thing you were missing was the cloud with the little stars coming out of it as they were tussling.
Yes. But then they find Sweet Pea, and you can tell that that's ad-libbed because Robin Williams is acting off what the baby is doing in that scene, which I always, even as a kid, I realized, he's really doing that because the baby can't act.
Right.
But he's reading the note. He says, "Love him as only a mudder can love." Signed, a mudder.
A mudder. Oh, his mother was a mudder. But then you find out that this baby's a prognosticator and can actually predict the future.
Now, apparently,
they got mad at Wimpy, but I'm like, that's exactly how you use that baby.
Yeah.
You go to the horse track.
Now, there was like the Jeep, right? There was that little like alien pet that Popeye had.
Yes, my wife actually owned a Jeep and she can do that. Whatever. I can't do it properly. But yeah, well, I mean, we also had the Sea Hag and Alice the Goon.
Yep.
So there was a lot of characters that showed up in these Popeye cartoons. Obviously, they don't show up here.
Eugene the Jeep. And I think from what I read, that's what the Jeep could do, prognosticate. So they gave that ability to Sweet Pea.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So maybe they were holding back the Sea Hag and the Jeep for the sequel that never happened.
That would have been way too much. Although I might have been happy seeing the Sea Hag. I could see how, because you never found out who Sweet Pea's mother was. Maybe they could go in that direction. Yeah, you literally see her sneak down and switch out the baskets.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think this guy's your best choice for your baby being protected? He's a stranger that everyone was running from 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm going to leave that baby. It's not a big town. You would know when someone suddenly doesn't have a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. And they immediately bond the two of them over this baby. But then when the baby's kidnapped, I'm like, you couldn't have been that attached to this baby.
Right. Because when the baby's kidnapped, Olive Oil still takes the time to sing "He Needs Me." You know, she's not.
Well,
she's not singing "Where's Sweet Pea." She's singing.
No. Yeah. I did like it when she said, "I said fooey and I meant fooey.
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 Me son's gonna be a man in Fink, not a baby in Fink.
Hey, do you mind if I take this baby for a walk? She can't walk yet. What are you gonna do? Take her for a drag? It's like they should have had a song called "Enunciate."
Yeah.
So, but I did read that the Bluto song "I Mean," and there's a great sequence at the end where Popeye and Olive Oil and the baby show up at the front door, and he gets so mad everything turns red, like all their outfit and everything. That whole scene is eliminated from the TV edit. I guess it's too violent because he's just tearing up the place. He's tearing up the place. He's throwing chairs, people out windows.
Yet the Greem Slime can play on ABC.
Go figure.
Yeah,
kids can't handle this.
And then so Wimpy kidnaps him, right, and brings him to the horse races because the kid whistles whenever.
Well, he asked if he could borrow him. I don't know if it's kidnapping.
So he brings him to the horse races, and then they all go after him. And Popeye comes in. What is this? A house of ill repukes?
Yeah, and then he sings a song with the hookers.
Don't touch anything; you'll get a venerable disease.
Yeah.
You see, this is stuff.
But you only see that in the closed caption.
Not that I would have known what that even meant, but I had no idea what he was saying. And when I was a kid, and just to see all this stuff.
Think of all those Westerns that we used to watch. I used to watch a lot of Westerns with my grandfather. There were always prostitutes. They're hanging upstairs above the bar. I didn't know what they were doing up there. What are they doing up there? But the horse race is fantastic because it's not horses. It's like those wind up plastic horses that, you go to like any state fair and you roll the ball to make your horse go, 1, 2, or 3 trots. And it's got to be fixed. How does he keep winning? Because it looks like a wheel. Are they just they're all lined up. It's all electronic. I don't know. Anyways, when Popeye gets mad. He gets mad and he throws all of Whippy's money away. I'm like, that, how many hamburgers that would want?
Or taxes that would pay.
Well, he probably owes people a lot of money for all those burgers he's bought.
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
Did he actually get to eat one? I think he did. Because there was a lot of hamburgers being taken out of his hands over the course of this movie. When I looked up the lyrics for I Am What I Am, I got confused. Apparently, there's a Gloria Gaynor song called I Am What I Am.
Oh, really?
I'm like, that's not the song.
Different?
That'd be great if I showed up at a Gloria Gaynor concert and she sings I Am What I Am. Man.
But Bluto sees that Sweet Pea is giving Wimpy all the horse winners. So he decides that he's going to kidnap the baby, which leads us to the end of the movie because
this is Biff stealing the sports almanac.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But in order to get the baby, Popeye has to punch out the tax collector in the famous scene where he slides down that chute, whatever that chute is for, where Popeye is staying.
It's when you cut lumber, yeah.
And he falls into the water. And the water, every time you see this water in the daytime, beautiful, green, translucent water.
Yeah, what's weird is that, I don't want to take too much away from where you're going with this, but you're right. The town itself is so drab, but then there's shots where you're looking out of the water and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's a weird dichotomy. Yeah. What's going on here?
Popeye, the whole town celebrates him because he's punched out the tax collector. It's not like he's killed him. It's not like the guy's dead, right?
I guess everyone is like, oh, somebody finally did that.
And so everybody holds Popeye up on their shoulders. He's the hero. And then he and Sweet Pea get separated. And this is when Bluto makes his move. He kidnaps the baby.
And so what do? They go after him in their boat and they ram the boat. There's a baby on that boat and you ram it.
What? But that's what Popeye is saying. He's like, there's women and children on that boat.
Oh, he actually was trying to see again.
He was trying to stop him.
I just see him up on front like friggin' George Washington there.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go ram him. That's all I heard.
Before we get there, we get the reveal that the Commodore, who you never see, is actually Popeye's dad.
Ray Walston. So now we got 2 aliens. We got My Favorite Martian and Mork from Ork.
Yep. TV aliens, no less.
That is true. Yeah. And he is pretty spot on. We made jokes when you first grew your beard that you were a little poop deck Packby looking.
Yeah.
But no, he kills it in this, but little too late by the time he shows up and adds a little bit of energy to this movie. because
Yep.
it's been pretty PG. And then he comes along and he's throwing ass and let's haul ass and let's
Haul ass. But Bluto is kind of the Commodore's lackey. So he's collecting taxes for this guy. So Pappy's really been the bad guy all along.
Yeah, like he's like Dr. Claw in the background. I don't know what's going on here.
But Pappy's always dropping hints to Bluto about a buried treasure. So now Bluto sees the baby as his chance to finally steal the Commodore's buried treasure because he's going to use Sweet Pea in order to find the treasure himself. So what is he going to ask him? Is it over here? Yeah.
Again, it just kind of like winds down. There really is no like big setup or like a third act, so to speak. I guess this is the third act. And there's a lot of crap that gets thrown at this animatronic octopus.
I think this looks pretty damn good.
I agree
octopus.
with you. It's right in line with this world we've established.
It actually kind of scared me as a 10-year-old.
Oh, well, because it kept showing it just below the surface.
Yeah. It's got a very Jaws vibe to it.
Yes, yeah, even though it's got those big cartoony eyes, but yeah, no, it sells. It's spot on to me. This is the least of its problems, this movie, is that octopus. So,
but then you get the, as you were saying, you get the reunion scene between Popeye and his pappy, and he's like, I'll prove you ain't my sons. And he says, give me that can of spinach. And then that's when Popeye says, I don't want it. And he reverts to a 2-year-old.
Yes.
And then Pappy realizes, because I guess he thinks that Popeye was going to eat the spinach, but now that he's not, he realizes it is his son.
The giant forearms that match yours wasn't a giveaway,
or the squinky eye, as he says.
Right, correct, the squinky eye.
So not only does Bluto have the baby, but somehow he manages to get Olive Oyl as well, who's stuck in that exhaust.
What is that? That's like on every ship. I guess it's just right. It's like an air.
It's like it's a tuba. That's what it is. It is
a tuba. I think Indiana Jones hidden one in Raiders of the Lost Ark when the Nazi submarine comes up. Yeah, I'm sure that the Three Stooges have all hidden it, but yeah, she's shoved down in there, and of course the octopus wants to have its way with her. Oh dear.
Don't be fresh. But they follow Bluto's boat to Scab Island, and the one guy, was he a family member? The bearded guy? It's a rock. It's a hard place.
Again, there's some dialogue that you're just like, I don't know what these people are saying.
But Bluto is already gone. He's in a rowboat with the baby, and he's trailing Olive Oyl, still stuck in the tube. And that's when Bluto and Popeye have their fight, and Popeye is losing. They have a little bit of a sword fight. They're going from the water and back again. And meanwhile, the octopus, is menacing both Sweet Pea and Olive Oyl. And there's that one scene where they try to save Popeye by throwing him a life preserver, and he ends up getting stuck. Yep. Another iconic scene. Bluto punches him and he spins away. Yep. But yeah, this octopus, I think, is very impressive.
Yes. Yeah.
When you see it fully, the tentacles, you can tell there's little strings controlling them coming up out of the water.
It's fine. We grew up on Godzilla movies. We know what that's all about.
So Pappy is seeing all this go down, and he's like, and he throws him, because Pappy finally finds, as Bluto and Popeye are fighting, Pappy finds his treasure, which is a chest. So because Bluto had brought it up out of the water, surface, but Pappy grabs it and he opens it, and he's looking at it with Sweet Pea, and it's all cans of spinach and little baby toys from when Popeye was a baby. Yeah. So Pappy grabs one of the cans of spinach and throws it at Popeye.
It's him in that.
And I read that the first time they did it, it was an actual can. That Williams needed stitches. It hit him just so, like on the edge of the can. So Popeye's still screaming that he's not going to eat the spinach, even after he throws the can at him. And Bluto's like, you don't like spinach, eh? Squeezes it and forces Popeye to eat it.
This is disgusting, by the way, because he is literally pouring it.
Yeah.
can of spinach down his gullet.
But I love this as, Popeye sinks to the bottom and Bluto is like trying to separate the water to see what he
Right. And then you just see the little pipe, the pipe that he found on the ground, by the way, and then had in his mouth the entire movie.
Yep.
He's like, oh, it's my pipe. It looks like the one I lost. And he just puts it in his mouth. But now it's like a periscope. And now he's like going full on SpongeBob movie, David Hasselhoff. He's flying through the water. And
the giant fist punches out Bluto.
yeah.
And then he releases Olive from the octopus's clutches. And you see him like do the wind up with his fist underwater.
Yes.
Before he punches it.
Yeah, again, like I said, there's some spot on stuff from the cartoon. The only thing I think we were missing is when he used to get the big muscles and the tank would show up and actually like his guns would literally like the warship would fire off his tattoos, but
the octopus basically you see it go into space.
It actually landed on Gamma 3. That's what caused the aliens. They weren't little Sigma sea monsters. It was an octopus.
So at the time as a kid, I was disappointed that he only ate the spinach once in the entire movie.
But this is kind of like Man of Steel, where like this is the origin story of how he becomes Popeye, right?
Yeah. And I think it works that you build up to that moment. Right.
Like, oh no, I don't eat that crap. It's like, no, Popeye eats spinach. We all know that.
Yeah.
But this is like Bluto creating his nemesis by feeding him the spinach.
Yeah. Look, Bluto's turned yellow, and he's actually yellow as he's swimming away.
Yeah. At a super high rate. Where he was going, I have no idea.
But that poor guy. This is for a movie that's in 1980. There's a lot of credits, and that guy had to swim.
This is like at the end of every Godzilla movie, you just see him going back out to sea. And
I'm like, I really hope that guy had a life preserver on, because I'd be tired after the first 2 minutes of credits, and they just kept coming.
Bob, can you come back when you shoot that again?
I could see the megaphone. Keep swimming. Yeah, they're not done yet. Keep swimming.
Nope,
not yet.
Rolling.
No, not yet. Keep swimming.
Yeah. And that was like accelerated. Like it was like filmed at fast speed. So it looked like he was really swimming fast.
Then, of course, we finally get, after all this music, we finally hear the Popeye the Sailor Man theme at the very end.
Yeah, and he's dancing around on the water.
Yep. And of course, there's the one infamous scene, which is from the trailer and all the commercials where he's skipping and he falls in. It was in all the trailers, but they kept it as the very last scene in the movie. So
you had to wait.
You had to wait for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when Rick Ocasek said, that looks cool. Let's do that in our next video.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's just the end.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they all live happily ever after. Pappy doesn't have to account for his crimes of stealing money from people.
Yeah. But I think it pays off. That ending did pay off. That's why I went out of that theater skipping just like Popeye, because I really liked that ending.
Good. Okay.
It gave me a giant monster. I was happy.
That is true. We did get a monster at the end. Like I said, there's a lot going on, and yet nothing really happens.
Yeah. And for anybody that has frequented Universal Studios Florida, there is like a Roaring Rapids type Popeye ride there. And there's, lots of Popeye and Bluto animatronics. And there's one point when you go, your raft goes into a tunnel and there is a giant octopus that squirts water at you.
Really?
So that's a highlight of the Universal experience.
I wonder if how come they didn't just use this octopus for the end sequence of Goonies?
Yeah, right.
He was all cut. Although Data still makes reference to it at the end of that movie, which makes no sense. And then there's an octopus. And you're like, what octopus? I just sat through a 2-hour movie. There was no octopus. Yeah, no, this is up there. This is deemed the worst masterpiece ever made.
Well, not only was Robert Altman a major Robert that was involved in this, we also had Robert Evans, the famous Hollywood producer that brought this to the screen. Now, initially, Dustin Hoffman was attached.
This is bizarre to me.
To play Popeye. I cannot see that whatsoever. No,
because we do know the one thing I did read, which was they kind of stifled Robin Williams a little bit because they didn't really let him riff like he did on Mork and Mindy. I don't know if people realize, but there was a lot of ad-libbing going on that show.
And I think there is in most anything that Robin Williams did after this.
Well, especially in those early episodes of Mork and Mindy, because he would go on these tears and he would use multiple languages, and they had to have different people who spoke different languages to make sure he didn't sneak on swear words. in these little goofy montage things that he would do. I don't think you're going to find a better Popeye. I don't see Dustin Hoffman. I mean, they got together years later. Was it 91 Hook?
Yeah, they did.
Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman, but I don't see him as Popeye.
Yeah, so initially it was going to be Dustin Hoffman with Lily Tomlin as Olive
Yes,
Oyl.
I did read that with Lily Tomlin, Shelley Duvall was coming off The Shining.
Yes.
And she said that was such a horrible experience for her that she was thrilled to do this, but at the same time, like, she was concerned because growing up as a kid, they used to
make fun of her,
call her Olive Oyl because she was so tall and skinny.
But I also read retrospectively that she has said that she feels that Olive Oyl was the most strong female character that she has ever played.
Geez, that's saying a lot. Huh?
So it's funny how she says, because how working with Kubrick for her was such a horrible experience, because after they considered Lily Tomlin, they considered Gilda Radner for Olive Oyl, and her agent talked her out of it because Altman and Evans were known to be eccentric. So her agent, who was obviously her friend, thought that they were sparing her the experience, but yet Duvall says that it was a joy to do it.
Well, I also read I guess some of the cast referred to this as the Stalag Altman, that
the town, right?
Yeah, he ran a real tight ship. I don't know. But yeah, like you said, they kind of right out of the gate distanced themselves from this. I'm assuming it did well or didn't do well.
It did well. It was a disappointment because it wasn't a mega blockbuster on the level of like your Star Wars Superman type thing, but it made back its money. It cost $20 million to make, and it made roughly $60 million worldwide.
Okay.
So more than doubled its budget.
But not enough for a sequel.
Not enough for a sequel, no. And if you notice, it was a co-production between Paramount and Disney. So Disney had
Disney's name attached.
Disney had the international distribution rights, and Paramount kept the U.S. distribution rights.
Yeah, and this is not on Disney Plus.
It is not. It was a two-picture deal between Disney and Paramount. This and then Dragon Slayer was a similar co-production,
which we have yet to cover. Yes. 300 in, we still got plenty to.
Yes, we do.
I watched two glorious movies last night that we could easily add to our roster. So yeah, I'm gonna say I remember as a kid, kind of like I don't know, but yeah, watching it now, and because I know it's getting a lot of crap online, and I just always kind of saw it as very schlocky, but after watching it, like I said, it is about as true to its source material as you could possibly get.
A lot of what I remember about Popeye is not understanding what Robin Williams was saying.
Right.
Now that I watched it, it was like a revelation watching this with subtitles.
Well, there's a lot of rat-a-tat stuff that just goes over your head.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Like I said, that scene, there's many scenes where people are just talking over top of each other.
As we said, the village still stands to this day. The village that was built there on Malta.
That's pretty. They must have upkeep on that, because
somebody must.
Salt water is not going to be doing that thing any favors. High tide. I mean, you had stuff right in the water, docks and whatnot.
It is known in Malta as Popeye Village. So they don't call it Sweet Haven, but they call it Popeye Village. And it is still a popular tourist destination. So enough people still know this movie enough.
Malta, it's on my list. The hammock. That's where he was sleeping.
Yep.
That's where Sweet Pea got abducted.
Look, this is the whorehouse.
Yeah, exactly. When they're still working.
The horses are still here.
Yeah, it must be. It would have to be. Yeah, it was all filmed there, right? They were on location the whole time. I think all the actors' quarters were built into those buildings.
Oh, really? So they actually lived there too.
That was my take from it. That it was not that it was a functioning village, but that they, what are you gonna do? Bus them in every day from like a hotel on the other side of the island? I don't know.
A lot of critics dumped on this, so that's why the perception of this out there is that it was a flop, because it got scathing reviews when it came out, but some surprisingly were on its
R2.
side.
Our two boys, Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert both gave it thumbs up.
They were ahead of the curve on that one.
What did Siskel say? Siskel is usually the curmudgeon of the two, right?
Yeah.
Ebert sometimes comes over to our side with these B movies, but Siskel rarely does. But he said the first 30 minutes were tedious and totally without a point of view. And this is these scenes that you're talking about, probably the dinner scene where you don't know what anybody's saying. But once Sweet Pea gets introduced, then this film becomes quite entertaining and in a few scenes, very special.
I don't know if I would go the entertaining route. Obviously, he saw something we didn't. Well, I didn't back in the day. So kudos to you.
It's funny you say that because Ebert, the quote that I see here, called it sophisticated entertainment.
That's a stretch. Was he getting? Did he get a?
I don't know.
Kickback on that one?
I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Well,
Leonard Maltin, though, our other, pillar in the review world. A game cast does its best with an unfunny script, cluttered staging, and some alleged songs.
I wholeheartely agreed with that. That is, what did Janet Maslin say?
Let me see. Do I have her? No, I've got Vincent Canby, not Janet Maslin. He called it thoroughly charming, immensely appealing mess of a movie. So a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can really. I mean, if you have fond memories like my wife as a kid, and like I said, she was 10. That's the perfect age, and to watch this, it's fine. That's you have an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna take it away from you.
And again, I said I've watched this so many times. I knew every single beat of this movie, even though it's been years, decades since I've seen it.
There was a lot that I remembered. So I probably once it dropped on HBO or something like that, I had watched it. I mean, it's not like I ever owned a DVD. It's not like I ever sought it out. I honestly, like I said, the 29 years I've been with my wife, I didn't know that she even cared about this, let alone.
It's not something that comes up in conversation.
No. Yeah. I did see for the 2004 was Popeye's 75th anniversary, and they lit up the Empire State Building green.
Oh, really?
Spinach green commemoration. And the only other little neat tidbit I came up with, Pac-Man creator Toru Iwatani credits Popeye's spinach-inducing power to the power pills that Pac-Man needs.
It was released on Blu-ray for the first time in 2020 to commemorate the movie's 40th anniversary.
2020. It had to have been on DVD though.
It was, It was on VHS, Betamax.
And again, streaming.
Laserdisc.
It looked pretty crisp.
Yeah. Some interesting things that I read is, you mentioned that Altman had a lot of the actors for some of the songs, not all of them, but for a lot of them, sing live rather than lip sync.
Right.
So when people bought the soundtrack, those were the pre-recorded versions. So when you got the soundtrack, you were disappointed that these weren't the versions you heard in the movie.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's an odd choice. That makes no sense. That is ass backwards. That's all I got to say about that.
So, we mentioned The Shining. Shining also released the same year as Popeye. So
Shelley having a banner year there.
Yeah, she was 1980. Yeah. And also another tie-in with The Shining is that Robin Williams was considered for Jack Nicholson's part in The Shining.
That's I find that's right up there with Dustin Hoffman playing this character. It boggles my mind. I don't see it.
Yeah.
And especially because he didn't really have any serious. I mean, he wouldn't do The World According to Garp for another 2 years. Was that 82? 82, where that was really like his foray into serious. So why they thought that was a good, I don't know. That's weird. I'm glad that didn't happen because I think that Shiny would have been a completely different movie. Another
just odd factoid is that the baby that plays Sweet Pea was Robert Altman's grandson.
I did read that. And they only use one baby. Usually you have a backup baby, right? You got it because you can only use a baby on set for so many hours.
Yeah, it's true. But that baby, the facial expressions that kid pulls off.
Yes, no, that kid had some serious acting chops, probably more so than some of these other.
Yeah.
Mr. Oil there. I'm talking.
And
to you.
Robert Evans apparently was arrested for buying cocaine, allegedly, during the filming of this movie.
That's the only way you can make this movie.
Allegedly bought. And I also thought it was funny that the book that Pappy pulls out of the treasure chest, How to Raise an Infink, is by Dr. Speck. Number 1, Feed It Spinach.
Yes.
A pleasure for watching this movie. I probably enjoyed it much more than I would have, say, Mac and Me, maybe in a different way.
Well, no, yeah, I think Mac and Me, we would have had to completely just lean into the disaster of it all.
Yeah, and I wasn't looking forward to. I'll tell you the truth, I wasn't not looking forward to watching Popeye again because of the stigma that it has, and I kind of forgotten my tie to it, but putting it on and hearing these songs.
I didn't know. Who knew?
Yeah.
Because it's not like that's an easy pairing. That's not like we're ever going to be
again,
like,
we use the term craptacular loosely, first of all, and lovingly, second of all.
Yes. Yeah. More so.
So there you have it. So what else did we do this week?
Well, I went on a Tubi tear last night. And I watched They Live because it's going.
Yes, another one we haven't done.
I know. And I will tell you, it looks spectacular. And watching this again, I'm like, this is like a cautionary tale of what's going on in our world right now. There's a good chance.
Put on the glasses.
Oh, and the fight. I said, my wife was like invested and then she wasn't. And I'm like, no, you have to watch this fight scene. You have to watch this fight scene. But
They couldn't do that movie with Rowdy Roddy Piper without some kind of scene like that in it. Because he gives him a suplex at one
I was gonna
point.
say that's his wrestling move right there. That's yep. But what would have happened if he had put the glasses on, looked in the mirror, and he was an alien?
Oh,
like that would have blown your mind.
It would have.
So I don't know. Yeah. So I watched that in Maximum Overdrive. Because obviously Tubi knows me very well.
I haven't seen that.
And that is, I forgot Yeardsley Smith is in that. Yeah, it's something else. But I want to bring up this documentary I found on Amazon.
Yeah,
it is called Making Apes, and it is the story of the makeup artists led by John Chambers and Tom Berman, who created groundbreaking special effects for Planet of the Apes. So going back to the 1960s.
Is this a new documentary or a few years old?
Guillermo del Toro. It may be a couple years old. Del Toro's in it. Rick Baker's in it. There's a litany of well-known special effects guys. Just talking about the history. The really neat part about this is a lot of behind-the-scene footage from the filming of Planet of the Apes, and obviously early makeup effects, and they get into the history of what makeup was up until that point and how revolutionary this makeup was, and they go all into all the subsequent ape movies, right down to the new Andy Circus CG versions. Pretty comprehensive. But anybody who's interested in that kind of behind the scenes special effects, and Heston, I don't think I realized Heston was so in charge with the making of this movie beyond just being the lead actor, that he really championed a lot of this stuff, getting the rights to the book, and yeah, it's almost a solid 2 hours. It gets pretty deep. So that's
funny. Yet he was so opposed to being in the sequel, after
I'm trying to remember. They did talk of something about that. He shied away from that, but it's really neat, and I ate it up because as a kid, I mean we've talked Planet of the Apes, and that movie itself is just really groundbreaking.
So I took a page from you this week and watched not one but 2 Bigfoot movies.
Oh.
I think they were both on Peacock, but I think you can watch them on several streaming services, the ones that I picked. First one was called Willow Creek.
Ooh, directed by Bobcat Goldthwait?
Bobcat Goldthwait. So it's a found footage movie, much in the vein of Blair Witch, but just substitute Blair Witch with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And it's one of these movies where you only can really watch it once and get the full effect.
Yeah.
because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, this couple goes out into the woods and they're engaged to be married, I think, or he pops the question while they're there.
While they're out there, yeah.
So he's the Bigfoot nut and she's the unbeliever. So he's kind of dragged her out against her wishes to an extent, out into the woods, and they're trying to recreate the famous. What are the names of the guys? I can't think of them now.
Patterson and Gimlin.
Patterson Gimlin. So they're going to that site. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
And all these people are telling him, nope, don't go out there. Don't go out there. But no, he doesn't listen. They go anyway. And so it's found footage. So for the whole movie, he set up the camera filming them, and they're in their tent for like a long scene. They're just hearing stuff in the middle of the night from their tent until you finally see like a hand come up against the outside of the tent. So at the very end, you'd see precious little except for a naked woman. So have you seen this?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
So while the couple are in the town earlier in the movie, you see missing persons flyers up all over the town. You see this one woman, especially the camera lingers on her missing flyer.
Yeah, remember that face.
And when you see the naked woman later, because as they're running through the woods, they turn the camera around and suddenly there's this naked person standing there, and it's the woman that's been missing. So then the camera suddenly flies out of the guy's hands as you hear this guy getting beaten by a Bigfoot. And then in the distance, you hear his fiance being taken by the Bigfoot saying, help me, help me.
Yeah. Well, he was done with the other one.
You get the impression that Bigfoot needs human women, that he's lusting after and waiting to abduct and rape human women.
Well, I don't know. That's why he has big hands. You really don't need.
So this was, disturbing enough. But then I go into the next movie because Peacock is saying, if you like this,
hey, if you like that,
we're going to start this one. So this next one was called Primal Rage.
Yes, this has been on my list. Go ahead. Yep.
Should I tell what this movie is then?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I don't ever see. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, because it is fantastic.
This doubles down on Bigfoot lusting after human women, because Bigfoot actually assaults the woman in this movie, and it's not graphic, but it's disturbing nonetheless.
It's disturbing.
But not only is Bigfoot lusty and ready to go, but he's also got predator level skills and intelligence,
which is fantastic.
So he's got bow and arrows, he's got weapons and what have you. So this again is about a couple that not only runs into redneck hicks that threaten the woman with assault, and they never actually get there, but then Bigfoot shows up, kills all the hicks, takes the woman for his own assault. And so then the husband has to, save her.
And he wears a mask, right? He has like a
he's got like very much like that Predator.
Yeah,
movie.
Prey. Yes, correct.
But at the end of the movie, the husband takes out the one Bigfoot that's captured his wife, and she runs, to safety. But he's injured and he can't follow her. But yet then all these other Bigfoot come out of the woods. They all have masks on with weapons.
Yeah.
So I'm like, first of all, where are the female Bigfoots? There's got to be, if there are Bigfoot still existing.
Yeah, it's true.
And do they roll their eyes when they bring humans back?
Right.
He wants the human woman.
Hey, listen, you're not bothering me tonight, so knock your socks off. Me no like hairy women.
Yeah. It was just disturbing in a whole.
It is. Yes, it is very disturbing. Yeah. Primal Rage.
I would think that you would be totally against that, because you are pro Bigfoot. Right.
I am pro Bigfoot, but listen, there's probably jerk Bigfoot and there's probably nice Bigfoot. Harry and the Hendersons, he was a nice guy. He was the kind of guy you could just hang out with.
Right. So yeah, so I did
the propaganda that all Bigfoot should just be killed. This is like Jaws now, right?
Well, they're trying to put out there that Bigfoot is like a rapist, a human rapist.
I have a newspaper, the National Enquirer. The headline.
There you go.
I was Bigfoot's lover. I have that somewhere in my vast collection, and it was framed on my wall for years. I was Bigfoot's lover. Not me personally. Don't. It was the lady on the newspaper. I just missed the Bigfoot Festival in Whitehall, New York.
Okay.
When I was on vacation. It was like we timed that whole Montreal thing. It did not work out. I could have gone to Whitehall and celebrated the big guy himself, but there's way too many of these Bigfoot movies now.
But the fact that
Rampaging
Bobcat
monster.
Goldthwait directed
I
the
remember
first one.
watching something where he was being interviewed talking about this, and he's got a healthy dose of Bigfootitis as well. And I think that this was, that's a couple years old now. Willow Creek.
It's 2013, actually. Yeah.
Primal Rage is up there. Like that would have been a nice pairing, and I probably pushed it with Prey, but it is too similar in a lot of ways. But there you go. Look at you going down the Bigfoot rabbit hole.
Yes, yes. And also just because it's the season and these things don't come around that often, I just want to point out we did talk about the monster cereals a few episodes ago. And I purchased a box of the new character.
Yeah, I got her name wrong, by the way.
Cruella Creeper or Creeper?
Yeah, Creeper.
Cruella?
I said Carmela. I don't know what I said, but I got it wrong.
So she is the zombie DJ. She's the new character in the monster cereals, and she has her own Carmela Creeper. Yeah, I said Cruella. It's Carmela Creeper.
Yeah. Caramel apple.
Caramel apple. That's what it says on the box. So and so when you pour the cereal, it is bright green with some Dunkin' Donut type pink and orange marshmallows. You would think that it did taste like Apple Jacks. It does not. No. When I ate it, it's just kind of like Captain Crunch. And we were saying last episode that there are really like 7 basic movie plots. There's probably the same with cereal flavors.
Cereal, right? Yeah, yeah. Because until I read that, the whole thing with the circus peanuts becoming Lucky Charms, the little cereal itself is just Cheerios, different shaped Cheerios.
Yeah. I'm
like, oh, yeah, it kind of ruins it for me.
So yeah, after I finish this box, and I think I'll just go back to Count Chocula.
That's it.
Huh? Yeah.
Is that year round now, Count Chocula?
No, seasonal.
Yeah.
Seasonal.
See, I always go blueberry.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, it's been a while. So very cool. Well, there you go. CRAPTACULAR.
Yes. Yeah. So speaking of CRAPTACULAR, I have a feeling
next week's going to be crappy as well.
The next episode is going to be like that. Yeah.
Well, I think that the backup feature will be fun because we've talked this up a little bit. This is a different genre, but they're using beloved characters that we are very fond of, and using them in a horrible way.
Yeah, and it's not Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I won't even watch that. I don't need to watch that.
But so we are going down the road into horrific, malfunctioning animatronics. So,
which seems to be becoming its own genre now.
Yeah, right. Because there was more than one movie that we could have picked to go along with our main feature.
Yeah.
So we are covering first and foremost the screen debut of Five Nights at Freddy's, which has built from a horror video game into like a toy and now feature film sensation. So Five Nights at Freddy's, and we're pairing that up with the Banana Splits movie.
This I think this is going to fall squarely in this CRAPTACULAR.
We could have gone, and when we say that we had more than one movie to pick from, the obvious choice was our old standby Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
With Willy's Wonderland, but we thought, well, let's because if anybody's going to do a double feature with Five Nights at Freddy's, the first thing that they're going to go to is Willy's Wonderland.
Correct.
So let's go in another direction. Yeah. Let's take a look at this Banana Splits movie.
Well, we're going to have to. I don't think that Droopy's capable of murder, but I guess we'll find out. Who greenlit this, by the way?
I know
they're Hanna-Barbera, right? They're Hanna-Barbera owned characters.
Maybe they took a chance, right? They figured how are we gonna, because no kid is gonna know who these characters are, right? So is it gonna be a kids movie, or should we go in a completely different direction and look to the horror crowd? And they didn't get them either.
No. Yeah. What you really should have done is just leaned in and just made it Chuck E. Cheese. Because those characters alone are horrific.
Well, I think that's where the whole Five Nights at Freddy's concept came from.
Yeah, because I mean, where else do you get animatronic? I mean, yeah, I guess if you go to the Disney route, but no, this is clearly a children's themed pizzeria At least Willy's Wonderland, really, that's what it was. And
As is Five Nights at Freddy's. As is
Right,
Five
okay.
Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with this, so I'm gonna have to do some research. I know that your son is into that.
He was.
So are you just battle these things in the video game?
Yeah. You're the video game. You're a security guard on his work. I don't know why you'd hire a security guard to look at an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese type restaurant.
Well, that's the exact plot of Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
I think he's just doing garbage duty.
Yeah. So that is the plot of the game. So it's like a first person kind of
Okay. Yeah.
view.
And you're just being stalked by these killer.
Yeah. So, and you're in the dark with the flashlight. So there's a lot of jump scares in the video game.
Oh, I don't think I'd like that at all.
But not only did we have Willy's Wonderland to choose from, there's also a movie out there called Spirit Halloween, the movie, where kids get stuck in a Spirit Halloween overnight and there's animatronics come to life. So yeah, it's a genre.
It is. It's its own subgenre now. I will tell you that somebody just sent me a video yesterday of a UPS worker delivering a house, and it was like the Ring camera video.
Yeah.
And they have these stupid Halloween decorations that come to life when you get close. And this lady dropped the box and screamed. And I'm like, this is what my life has been for the last week, because there's a house that has these little zombie babies and they freak me out. I'm not going anywhere near this stupid thing.
Do they come to life? Are they motion?
I don't care. I'm not getting close enough to set them off. Nope. I'm not doing it. I'm not playing this game.
Right.
There you go. I'm not playing this game. 300 episodes. Congratulations, buddy.
Congratulations. We made it this far.
We did. I don't know where we go from here.
I don't know. To 400, right?
I guess we're going to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah. Yes, we will. So thanks for listening as always.
Yes, thank you. And we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Hey, everybody. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your fellow movie nerd friends. It means the world to us and helps our listenership grow.
You can also find us on all of the socials, Instagram and Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just look for the Popcorn Bucket.
You can help support this show by visiting our TeePublic page for some TMI branded goodies such as hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. tpublic.com/TMI Confessionals, all one word.
A 5-star review would be incredibly nice as well. I'm just saying.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week. We'll save some popcorn for you.
Ask me olive oil. Clean up on aisle 7. Clean up on aisle 7.